I did a study of the gold prices going way back about 6 decades and found that most of the time when gold went up, the economy was expanding. And most of the time it was going down. We were in recessionary times or depressionary times. So if you look at 2008 when gold went down, we were in a recessionary period. In 2009 we recovered and gold zoomed to a new high while we were recovering in the economy and the stock market was recovering. So this coupling is extremely tight. The only difference, the only thing that made gold a little bit different in 2008 is it went down much less than the other commodities did and the stock markets did. But I think that was to set up for this new high. Gold had gone up less than everything else. I think platinum went up something like 7 times, and oil went up, 14 times. And gold was up about 4 times. Well, now it's made it to a 5 times multiple. So it's simply in the range of the other commodities right now. It played a little bit of catch-up. It was not a big special situation. Gold is more conservative. So it didn't have the big run that time. And now that people are getting more conservative, they're looking for the one thing they can buy. It's just like in the stock market when the final high, like January 1973, is blue chips. People are saying, I want to be conservative, I'll buy the blue chips here. They'll never go down. And people are shunning the other commodity. Well, they're not shunning them, they're buying them. They're not pushing them to new highs, but they're focusing on gold. That's our blue chip. It's the one thing left that we have to hang on to. People who are buying things to get out of this deflationary crash are going to get caught. In 1970, all you had to do was buy things. And everyone said, buy gold, buy silver, buy copper, whatever you want to buy. This cycle is the opposite. You want to be out of all of this stuff and into cash so that when they hit their bottoms, you can buy gobs more of whatever commodity you're in love with, and believe me, people will not be in love with them when they're at the bottom, for much lower prices.
I gather you're a libertarian, Robert. You believe in the efficiency of the free market and that governments can get in the way. And gold, I mean, you don't particularly like gold as an investment, but surely gold is the currency of the free market.
Gold is the only real money. And this is why the politicians work so hard to get rid of it, because they can't manipulate real money. So I think England was the country that invented central banking. Isn't that in the late 1600s, something like that?
I believe so, yes.
So instead of using actual money, which is gold, to serve as the unit of monetary exchange, some brilliant people got this idea that we could use government debt and that people would have shares in the debt, and that would be the value that they would hold their money in.
William of Orange was our king who started all of that.
I see. Well, that's unfortunate. But we're living in a world where we're having the worst of both sides of the government mismanagement of the monetary system. Ever since 1933, we've had relentless inflation, which has destroyed savings, hurt the elderly because whatever they held on to in terms of money has evaporated away. And now we're on the other side, the deflationary side, which is even more destructive. If you had left gold as the unit of money, all of this would have been much more dampened, and an enlightened individual, would be able to choose a safe bank. But we don't have any safe banks anymore because they're all dealing in this phony money. So it's an extremely bad situation, and I think the Austrians are really missing out on something, the neo-Austrians, because they are saying that deflation is impossible when really it's just yet another government disaster that we're going to have to live through.
Okay. I mean, if we do get another cycle of deleveraging and a major deflationary bust, I still think the monetary system will implode and we'll go back to some kind of gold standard before we hit 300 on the Dow.
I'm a big fan of gold money. Have you interviewed Jim Turk before?
Many times. I'm a big fan, and I have an account with him.
That's the future.
Yeah.
Where you actually put your money in a bank and it stays there. They don't lend it out to people who want to buy a house for 2% down. It actually stays there, and that will be a very solid monetary system as long as governments allow it to flourish. Whether we go all the way worldwide that way is probably not going to happen, but if you have the option, that's what's important.
Already, I've sent a couple of people gold money's way, and already the administrative burden of opening an account with them is becoming onerous because of the regulation that's being imposed.
Exactly. The freedom is completely lost. You have to fill out so many forms and give so many documents. I think it's even fingerprints or something else. all because the government wants them to do that because of the money laundering rules. But it's a sad state of affairs, and I think we're going to have polarization in this bear market. So you're going to get more and more authoritarianism at the same time that you get more and more people who are saying, we don't want this anymore, we want freedom instead, a radical concept.
It is a radical concept. Can you use your wave principle to measure I'm trying to think if there's like a measurement of government control, a measurement of freedom. Can you kind of go in waves where there's more government control and then waves when there's more libertarianism?
Well,
is there a way of measuring that?
Yes, I did a study, and I think that central banks tend to be created in major fourth waves so that they can be there for the fifth wave speculative binge, and then they tend to go away. I think there's a pretty good chance that the Fed may be completely dissolved and gotten rid of. At least it's one of the possibilities. But the ebb and flow of optimism and pessimism does not necessarily lead to more freedom or more authoritarianism. What happens in the uptrends is that you get more middle-of-the-road politics. You don't have the extremes. In a bear market period, you get the extremes. You get the extreme authoritarianism, and then you get the reaction to that. People want freedom. Usually, sadly, authoritarianism wins. In 1933, Hitler took over in Germany. Stalin consolidated power and was a disaster there. In 1949, of course, Mao took over China. But in rare instances, such as in the colonies in the late 1700s, you actually have the freedom side win, and a country can start over from that base, just as, say, Rome did when it was founded. So polarization is what you're going to see, extreme polarization. It'll be quite a struggle. May the good side win.
Yes. May the good side win, exactly. Okay, let's talk about China. What's your opinion on China? I know it's a big subject, but I mean, is this...
Yes, I think I can sum that pretty quickly. My friend James Dines, do you know that name?
I do. I've interviewed him on this show.
Called... it was bullish on China, turned bullish on China in, I think, 1979, before anybody even thought about it. They'd just gone through the Cultural Revolution. They were a mess. They were a disaster. And he said, China's going to come out and be a world leader. Now, to me, that's a forward-looking person. And the people who waited 25 years to say, oh, we like China, to me, we're so far behind the curve, it's not even funny. So what we really had in the past 10 years is the peaking of this first giant wave up in China's long-term fortunes. To me, China is very much like the United States emerging from the late 1700s. Revolutionary type of environment, very difficult fighting. But once they go through this major retrenchment, which I think is already in force, they're trying to fight it with liquidity like everyone else, but that's going to fail. They'll go through their extremely difficult time, very much as the U.S. did in the Civil War period. But once they get their act together again, I think they will be the world leader. But by then, everybody's going to be too preoccupied to go and invest in China, like they want to do now, near the top.